Ben, something important has just come to my attention today. So I feel it is important for me to say the following, that Words About Books has always been a podcast dedicated to peace. If they don't have anyone else that they want to give that Nobel Peace Prize to in 2024, I'm willing to take it on. And also the $3 million to come with it.
Okay. Is that all you wanted to say?
That's all I want to say. Let's jump right into it, Ben.
Did something happen with the Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah, they might not award it in 2024.
Insufficient peace?
Yeah, insufficient peace.
I think we have both stated that we're too old and cowardly to fight a war.
There you go.
So,
Isn't that the definition of peace right there?
if everyone were too old and cowardly to fight a war, I think we would have peace.
Yeah. Anyway, what bullshit are we talking about for Horror Bullshit Month today, Ben?
So, as I told you, I mean, it's been spoiled by all the people who read the title, but the theme is haunted houses and litigation. And this one is the most haunted house, except for like the oh god, what's the one? The guy, the gun maker.
Oh, the Winchester Mansion.
The Winchester Mansion. Thank you. We're not talking about that.
The guy who made the guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
His widow famously went nuts with all the death her husband had caused, and
Yeah.
built a crazy mansion.
Sorry, but guns don't kill people. People kill people, so it is not his fault.
Well, she wound up feeling very haunted nonetheless. But no, we're talking about the second most haunted house, the Amityville house, 112 Ocean Avenue. If you hang out in paranormal circles, you can't really avoid the Amity house. This is the most famous, I would say, though perhaps some might say the most well documented, but I don't think it's that well documented. And
I don't even know what that is. I just know I've heard the names, and then I looked into it after you sent me the fucking link. But that's your fault.
So I'm going to show Nate this. I'll take a picture. I'll put it on Instagram. But this is the paperback I have.
A true story.
Yeah. So this is so old, it does not have a barcode.
Wow.
This is one of the third printings. I have this book because, this is from 1977. I have this book because my mom is a huge Amityville enthusiast.
So now I know where you got all of this from.
I think I've been pretty clear about that.
Huh. Well. Okay, then.
But my mom's going to be mad at me because I did not like this book. And I do not like the people who wrote it.
That's when she shut it off. She shut off the podcast just now.
I warned her. I warned her this was coming. I like the movie. There's a movie they made shortly after the book came out. The movie's fine. So here's the problem. The book, this is the Amityville Horror, a true story by J. Anson. This is the book that started it all. So, well, we'll get people mad at me right off the bat. This is not a true story.
What? But a thing happened in that house.
I don't trust these people as far as I could throw them. And if you do, you're a fool. So, unfortunately, this is based somewhat around a true incident.
If I did it, here's how I would have killed my family.
Yeah. So, On November 13th, 1974, 24-year-old Ronald DeFeo
Oh, is
took
that how
a
you say
high...
that?
Yeah, that's how you say that.
It's not Defoe.
No.
Okay. I'm going to keep calling him Defoe.
I've heard many, many people say DeFeo. So
Okay. I'm going to keep calling him Defoe.
he shot his parents, his mom and dad, two brothers, and two sisters. Shot them in their sleep. Maybe we'll talk about that. And there's been a lot of like mysterious circumstances around it. So the
Where could
legend...
he have even gotten a gun, Ben?
Anywhere. It was 1974. The hardware store, the grocery store. So there's a lot to talk about there, and that could easily be its own book and its own thing. The DeFeo crime kind of
Yeah,
gets
is that not what this book
lost.
is about?
No, it's about the people that moved into the house after that.
Oh. Why do I care about them? Did they also kill someone?
No,
Okay.
but
they
I gotta finish talking about these murders. So
okay.
So the legend goes, if anybody tells you about the Amityville Horror, they're going and they're a believer, not a skeptic. Nate, I have to reluctantly admit, I think after all these years, I'm gonna break kayfabe.
Oh my god.
I think I might be a skeptic.
How dare you? You don't think the Goblin universe is real? Fuck you.
That was a bonus episode. Nobody knows about that.
Well, if you want to listen to it, but they don't now because they know you're a skeptic.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
You just cost us $3 whole in maybe one sub, Ben.
So,
Dick.
So the legend of the DeFeo murders is that they were all shot in their sleep. None of them woke up. How did that happen? And they were all shot sleeping on their stomachs, like one shot in the back of the head, and nobody heard anything, and that implies ghosts.
Okay. So ghosts use guns now.
Well,
I
the
think that's
ghosts,
the most dangerous thing ever.
the ghosts either psychologically, this is where things get gross. Maybe the ghost psychologically tortured Ronnie DeFeo into thinking he had to do this. Maybe he was possessed. I don't know
Okay.
if you're familiar with the Warrens. I've mentioned them a couple of times.
So not guilty by reason of ghosts.
His lawyer. So there's
Oh
some
my god,
stuff.
this is actually an argument. Is that what you're about to tell me?
I'm going to tell you that at his trial he pleaded insanity.
Oh, that never works. What a terrible idea.
It didn't work. Well, he didn't have a lot of options. So the problem is,
did he try the whole they maybe shot themselves angle?
No. There's a couple of theories of the crime, but Ronnie DeFeo does allege that the police kind of beat a confession out of him. And that, I don't know if I believe that. Maybe I believe that.
The police beating someone to get a confession. How that's even more absurd than the ghost, Ben.
So what Ronnie did was he went, he killed his family, and then he went to work the next day, and then he came home, and then he ran into a local bar and was like, "Oh my God, someone killed my whole family."
Okay.
And then one of the cops, now, if you believe that they beat the confession out of him, maybe you don't believe this, but one of the cops said that Ronnie DeFeo asked him how one goes about claiming an insurance policy.
I mean, as you do. Usually people save that for the funeral itself. You're like, oh, we're here today to inter my dad to the everlasting whatever. Anyone know, like, how do I get a little something out of this? It's an expensive funeral.
So he almost certainly killed at least some of them. So I can understand why the cops didn't really care about this. One of the things that the ghost people don't like to talk about is the fact that Ronnie DeFeo had a strained relationship with his father to begin with. They didn't get along. They didn't
Yeah,
like
and
each
the
other.
ghost preyed upon that or something.
So
Ghosts are
they,
very, very sensitive, Ben. So they would know that kind of thing.
yeah, they would know that kind of thing.
And apparently, they run cold.
They
So
do
did
run
anyone
cold.
run in there with a thermometer and just start pointing it at stuff?
Oh, bud, it's
Oh
gonna
my
get real
god,
cold in
I'm
this house.
joking.
It's gonna
I'm
get real cold in
joking,
this house.
Ben. Oh my god. Oh, fuck me. All right.
Okay, so now there's some interesting things to note about the crime. Uh, legitimately spooky thing. None of the neighbors heard gunshots. Legit spooky. There
Okay.
were at least 8 shots fired.
Did they just think it was fireworks? Because I hear those all the time, and I'm like, I sure hope those are fireworks and not someone getting shot.
No, unlike the victims in your neighborhood, they just didn't hear anything, or they didn't want to
Huh.
talk to the cops. Tough to say.
What?
So,
I can't imagine such a thing.
I mean, if you're looking for explanations, I feel like there's things to consider other than ghosts.
Or
So,
alternatively, hear me out, ghosts. Eh?
so the father and the mother were each shot twice. There seems to be some evidence to suggest that they maybe did awaken, hence needing to be shot twice, and that they weren't necessarily peacefully killed while sleeping on their stomachs. That perhaps Ronnie DeFeo's father got up and tried to uh, take a step forward and was shot again, and then his mother was shot again because the first shot didn't kill her, and maybe she was screaming. So that's pretty gruesome, right? Like that's actually scary. Like that's actually a pretty bad story. That's not what this book is about. It's just capitalizing on the publicity of it.
Oh, that's kind of fucked up then.
Yeah, it is.
It would be like if someone wrote a story about how OJ was haunted by ghosts.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't. OJ's Spooky Halloween.
Well, if he were still alive today, Ben, he might actually think about that. I'm sure. I'm sure it may have crossed his mind.
I'm going to read you a little excerpt here. There's evidence that while he might not have had demonic help, he might have had all too human help. So I'll just read you a little excerpt here from Rick Osuna, who wrote The Night the DeFeos Died. Herman Race, a former New York City supervising police detective, was hired by Michael Brigante Sr. to investigate the murders. Brigante had testified at the trial. He did not feel that his grandson acted alone in the
Maybe
commission of the
that guy's a
crime.
ghost.
Since Brigante did not feel that his grandson had done all that he was accused of, he wanted Race, a licensed investigator and friend, to either prove or disprove the case against Ronnie Butch DeFeo. Race eventually uncovered evidence that showed there were multiple gunmen and at least 2 guns had been used during the commission of the crime.
One in each
During
hand.
a private court hearing and at trial, Race's findings were corroborated by the prosecutor and the medical examiner, who was astonished that only one man sat accused of being the sole gunman. Ronnie DeFeo had a sister who also didn't like their dad, and maybe later Ronnie's changed his story so many times. He's dead now, it doesn't matter. But he changed his
Oh, he
story so many
is?
times.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't possibly know what the hell actually happened. But maybe Dawn helped. Dawn was his sister.
Yeah, and
So,
she's dead, so she can't stand trial. So, checkmate.
yep. So Dawn apparently powder burns were found on her clothing. So that's a little, and the bodies obviously could have been changed position after the fact. But the people who wrote this book did not know any of this at the time they wrote the book.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the book.
Oh, joy. I can't wait.
A little
It's like
about
OJ.
a
I'm
little
getting OJ flashbacks.
a little
That was
about the
also a bonus
author.
episode. I guess no one knows about that.
No, you need to stop referencing all your favorite bonus episodes. So the guy who wrote this book is named Jay Anson.
Okay.
The Amityville Horror was Jay Anson's first ever book. In an interview in response to the success of the book, he was quoted as saying, "This is my first book. The first time I ever tried a book.
Wow.
You know what kind of luck this
Must
is?"
be nice.
The book was an overnight success. Anson made a decent chunk of money off of this. I heard $400,000 somewhere.
Man,
Don't
fuck
quote
this
me on
guy.
that. $400,000
And in
in
today's money, that's
1974.
yeah, that's like $200 million in today's money.
He only wrote one more book that I can find, and it's called 666.
If
This
I did
one,
it. Oh.
yeah. This one is also about a haunted house, and the cover I found has 666 written on it, and then in text as large as the author's name, it says, "A novel by the author of the Amityville Horror."
And I'm guessing that took off,
Nope.
and it sold 1 billion copies, and he was able to retire on a big pile of money.
And it's something like 12 reviews on Goodreads.
He got Edenversed, except he had a hit before.
So,
oh.
Prior to writing the Amityville Horror, Jay Anson worked in advertising and publicity. He's actually somewhat hard to find out stuff about. He did not have a big public career. He always claimed that the story was true.
Okay.
And as part of his evidence for why the story was true, he kind of said that he met the Lutzes. They're the family that moves into this house. This is their story.
Okay.
And he said I think he said they're not clever enough to have made it up.
Oh. Okay. I mean, I was going to say backhanded compliment, but I don't think that's even a compliment. I think it's just like, you're dumb. You're incapable of that kind of creativity.
While researching this book, I can tell you he is not the only person to have said that about the Lutzes.
Wow.
A lot of people think they're just too dumb to have made this up. But I would argue that dumb people often make up unbelievable shit. So let's keep that in mind.
How dare you?
And this is according to George Lutz, who is the father, we'll talk about that, of the family. He said that Anson decided to name it the Amityville Horror because it took place in the town of Amityville, and it sounded like the Dunwich Horror by H.P. Lovecraft.
Lovecraft? God damn it.
So that's like an R.L. Stine level title there. It sounds like another horror thing. So that's good. So here's how this book comes to Jay Anson, author of no books. The only thing this guy had ever written was like television documentaries, and one of which was a documentary on the movie The Exorcist, which came out like 2 years before this.
Okay. That sounds like the kind of guy I would want to write my book.
So the very famous thing you will hear about the Amityville Horror legend is after only 28 days living in the house, the Lutz family fled in terror.
Okay.
Leaving behind all of their possessions.
We check for infrasound? That sounds like an infrasound thing.
Sounds like infrasound, yeah.
Did anyone else live there since?
Yeah, people live there right now.
Did they flee in terror after 28 days?
No, and they'd really like people to stop coming around and gawking at their house.
and no can do.
They have since officially changed the number of the house, so it's a little harder to find. but it like people to stop coming around. Pretty easy for nerds to find. And they really don't want you there. And they really hate when people walk down that street because this is a pretty ritzy part of town.
So who bought the house after these guys, and did they get to keep all of the possessions in the house?
I don't know if they got to keep all of the possessions. I'm not going to say who bought it after them because a lot of these people have asked for privacy.
Oh, that's fair.
But they did say that nothing happened in the house. And the most annoying thing was that people kept coming to their house and asking
That's
about
the true
Amityville.
terror. People.
Yeah.
Just like in the real killings.
To give you an idea of how rich this neighborhood is and how probably easy it is to identify paranormal tourists who all dress like Zach Baggins, this house is on a river which connects to the ocean, has a boathouse. It is 3 stories, giant home. There's multiple buildings on the property.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a multi-million-dollar house today.
Wow.
And the Lutzes, they're not really Amityville people. George Lutz owns a not super successful landscaping business at this point in time. Not landscaping, I'm sorry, surveying business. Land surveying business.
Okay.
Which it makes you a little more money, but he's not doing very well. We'll discuss that. And he just married a woman who has 3 kids from a previous marriage.
Nice.
And they're looking for a larger house. And this is 1974, so please try to keep your jaw off the floor at these prices. But they're looking for something in the $30,000 to $50,000
Fuck
range.
you. Go fucking die. Fuck you.
This giant house.
This is why I hope there's a baby boomer listening to this who's like, well, kids these days are just lazy. They could get their own. Fuck you. They're looking for a 3-story house with a boathouse that's got
So this
30
house,
grand. Go fuck yourself.
This house was a little too much for them, but it was at a bargain because 6 people had just died in there.
Damn.
So
some people have all the luck.
it was going for only $80,000.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck off.
So the Lutzes decide to buy this house
for just 5 figures, you know?
For just 5 figures. And honestly, even in the 70s, 80,000 was probably pretty low. But, you know, I think I don't know if the furniture was still in there, but like everybody in town, this was a big story. These 6 people were murdered and they were having a hard time selling this house. And also there's some...
Do they even do that anymore? Or does the bank just go, yeah, I'm taking this, we'll just sell it?
Yeah, well, that was what I was going to say is technically the house would have gone to the murderer. And there is some mention of some legal maneuvering to actually get the house like fully in their names, which I don't they never come back to it. I don't really know what happened to that. But after 28 days, the Lutzes flee in terror, right? And there's some press about this and everything, but according to Anson, he got a call. He was put into contact with the Lutzes. Now, he was put into contact with the Lutzes because a friend of the Lutzes happened to walk into the publishing office that he worked for and said, how does one go about writing a book? And they said, what kind of book? And he said, ghost story. And they contacted, this isn't like a super famous publisher either. They contacted the one guy they knew that did a Exorcist documentary. And that happens to be Jay Anson, resident nobody who winds up inheriting just gold. He just, because some
So you're
idiot walked into a
saying that
publishing
we
office.
need fewer gatekeepers so that this kind of thing just goes to Amazon Kindle and no one cares.
So yeah, I guess these days it might have just gone Kindle Direct Publishing, but
So what you're saying is we need to go through Kindle Direct Publishing, buy the rights to a whole bunch of things, and one of them might be gold.
so Jay Anson, among other ridiculous things, says that George Lutz, he didn't have any intention of cashing in on this. He didn't have any intention of making a book. He had to set the record straight for some reason.
What?
And when Jay Anson...
He didn't have an intention of cashing in, but he wanted to go write a book?
Well, his friend walked into a publishing office and...
As you do.
Yeah, and said that. And so somebody...
I often go and ask around about how I can publish my friend's life story. So,
yeah.
Checks out.
Anyway, okay, I wrote down some notes. So the friend walked into a publishing house, asked about how one goes to get a book published. They asked him what sort of book. He told him it was a ghost story. He was directed to Tam Mossman, who specialized in the occult. Tam listened to the story and put his friend Jay Anson in touch with the Lutzes. Tam thought of Jay for this project because Jay had just written a TV documentary on The Exorcist. They'd been friends for several years. According to Anson, when he reached out, George Lutz, who had no intention of publishing a book, had already recorded 35 hours of tape detailing the story.
Okay.
He gave those tapes to Anson. Anson then interviewed Lutz for an additional 5 hours. He also interviewed a priest who was supposed to have blessed the house. We'll talk about that. He interviewed several cops. He says he talked to the Amityville Historical Society. And this is spooky. After accepting the project, Anson had a heart attack.
Was it
the house? Yeah, no, I think he actually had a heart attack.
Okay.
A lot of people tangentially...
What do you mean, was it the house? Was he inside the house at the time?
No.
Okay, so no, it wasn't the house.
But did the house not want him to write a book?
But he did write a book. The house didn't finish the job.
Well, the house never finishes the job.
Yeah.
Except that one time 6 people died. And never again. Or before. But... was it the house?
No, he wasn't in the house.
No, it probably wasn't the house. Okay.
He probably had a family history of heart disease or a genetic defect, or maybe he,
smoked like everyone did in the 70s.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot of reasons.
No, he wrote the book while recuperating from a heart attack. That's how scary it is. Okay. So I'm going to be real with you. Not a lot of a story here. Kind of just a list of things that happen.
Okay. Isn't that what all stories are, Ben? Just a list of things that happened.
So, I guess we'll talk about it in more or less the order things happen. And then I think I'll tell you more what I actually think happened.
Was it the house, Ben?
No.
Could it perhaps have been the house, though? How certain are you?
I'm fairly certain. So, okay. So George and Kathy Lutz, and this is the book. This is the world of the book.
Okay.
George and Kathy Lutz, they're relatively newly married. Kathy has 3 children from a previous marriage. George is a former Marine, so he's a tough guy, not easily frightened.
Okay, I feel like I've heard this before.
Yeah.
What? God, was it? That
Some
one
for the
story.
Skinwalker.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was gonna ask if it was
Yeah.
that story from the author about the one that seemingly disappeared and we can't find him anymore. But you're right. It's the fucking Skinwalker.
It's the Hunt for the Skinwalker. They were all trained Marines.
They're all trained Marines, so you know that it was really scary.
Oh my god, this is happening again.
So they got 3 kids.
My granddad was a trained Marine. He fucking sucked. Anyway, go on.
The kids are Danny, Christopher, and Missy in order of age. Danny is 10. Christopher is 7. Missy is, I want to say, like 5. She's significantly younger. Spoiler alert, after this book, Missy falls off the face of the earth. I can't find out anything about this girl.
Maybe she was a ghost the entire time.
Or maybe she's the only one smart enough to not get involved in this. So they're looking for a house. They find this giant goddamn house that they can't afford. It's $80,000.
Wow.
Their max was $50,000, but it's
$80,000.
such a bargain that they can't pass it up.
They just sold some refrigerator parts and bought it. It was the 70s.
Nope, huge loan.
Well, this was before the housing crash, so
here's
you
the
could
thing
do
about
that.
here's the thing
It'd be
about
fine.
George. Here's the thing about George Lutz. And again, I'm in the world of the book, so try not to read too much into this. But for a man with a failing surveying business, he owns a motorcycle, a car,
Okay.
2 boats.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
he's renting office space. And
Okay.
the business owns a bunch of
Did he ever think of
equipment
just
and
liquidating
cars.
his assets? What is this?
No. So this is why this is a smart purchase. Okay. Because even though it's way out of our price range and we're drowning in debt, I can save money on docking fees.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Hey, now we have a place to put those boats.
And now we have a place to put the boats.
We can't liquidate the boats and turn that into extra cash. That's stupid, and you're stupid for even thinking
Well,
about
I
it.
like to fish in 2 boats at the same time.
Yeah, 1 foot in one foot in the other.
I need
obvious.
I need 1 boat for my stuff and 1 boat for me. And I sit in 1 boat and I have the cooler in the other boat. And when I say boat, I do mean speedboats. Like, these have motors. They are not like, this man is not talking about a canoe. But he doesn't have, he's fine financially. He makes smart business decisions.
No. He's hurting, Ben. But this house, god damn it, it's going to save us money in the long run.
Yeah, and he's renting office space for his surveying business. So
yeah,
I could instead run the surveying business out of the finished basement.
There you go.
112
there you
Ocean
go.
Avenue.
That we're just saving all kinds of money by making this house that's $30,000 out of our range.
Also,
Smart.
yeah, it's paying for itself, really.
Yeah. If anything, we're idiots not getting this house. Oh, dumbass.
Also, for some reason, he needs to do a lot of carpentry before he can open the office.
Just like Jesus, yeah.
In the basement.
Yeah.
Just like Jesus.
Yeah.
So, they also don't have enough stuff to fill the house because, like,
well, we can always buy more stuff, you know?
Well, and you know who used to have a lot of stuff?
The dead people?
Yep.
Perfect. I mean, they're dead. Are they even going to need it anymore?
So they arranged to buy a bunch of the stuff.
Awesome. You can always buy more stuff. Yeah. Amityville Horror 2, The Search for More Money.
Okay. George would tell the broker before closing that they'd like to purchase the dining room set left in storage by the DeFeos, along with a girl's bedroom set for Missy, a TV chair, and Ronald DeFeo's bedroom furniture.
Perfect.
I think that's the murderer's bedroom furniture.
It's very strange that you would not have beds, but it's because you're making a smart business decision. Who needs beds when you've got boats?
These things and other furnishings left in the house, like the DeFeo's bed, the murder bed, were not included in the purchase price.
Why would
George paid
you
in a
murder bed specifically?
George
I
paid
guess
out.
the other beds were probably covered in blood, so
I will tell you why they did this, because this is how much they paid for all of this, plus 7 air conditioners, 2 washers, 2 dryers, a new refrigerator, and a freezer. $400.
fuck these guys. I hope ghosts do eat them.
How haunted would you have to be to leave this deal? You've spent $80,400 on a fully furnished giant house, and all it cost was 6 human lives and maybe a demon.
Yeah, or like maybe he has a huge amount of debt to the mob or something, and they're gonna come break his fingers if he doesn't pay back.
No, I don't think it's
No.
that interesting.
Oh, that's
So
fair.
this is something I didn't get from the movie. The book is about 50-50 the Lutzes and then this random priest.
Perfect.
So there's a priest in the book. His name is changed, but we will talk about his real name because he's dead and I don't care. In the book, he's Father Frank Mancuso.
Okay.
And in the book, you notice I'm saying in the book because maybe it's not this way. In the book, he'd met the Lutzes 2 years earlier. Even though George was a Methodist, he helped Kathy and George in the days before they were married. As a priest to Catholic children, Father Mancuso felt a personal need to look after their interests. So these people aren't even properly Catholic. Like, you know how Catholic people, like Catholics don't let you marry non-Catholics?
Yeah.
So as far as I know, George didn't convert.
Ooh.
So I don't think they're actually Catholic.
That's why he's haunted right there. He's not haunted by demons, he's haunted by angels, Ben.
I could be wrong
They're
about that.
pissed.
Maybe he converted. I will tell you, at no point during this story do the Lutzes go to church. Not even on Christmas.
There you go. There you go.
Like, they're not even Christmas and Easter Catholics.
Oh my God, there you go. That's why they're being haunted.
I mean, you'd think, like, if you were being haunted and you were a Catholic, maybe you'd go to a church. Or you could just call Father Mancuso constantly, despite the fact that you're pretty sure a demon is interrupting your calls. We'll talk about that.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. So Father Mancuso, the Lutzes ask him to come over and bless the new house. That's the thing people do.
Okay.
Why don't you come over, bless the new house? And he's like, yeah.
Break a bottle of champagne over it like you do a ship.
That's christening.
Yeah.
So he agrees to come bless the house. So he starts working in the house, starts blessing it. And while he's blessing it, he hears a voice say, "Get out."
And
then
he responds, "No."
He leaves, and on his way to I think he's going to his mother's house for dinner or something. His car breaks down, and then the guy who comes to help him, that guy's car also breaks down.
Was it the house, Ben? Was the house breaking their cars?
That is the implication.
Go fuck yourself.
Here's the other thing. This is throughout the book. It's just kind of creepily mentioned. The family, who has never done this before, all of a sudden starts sleeping on their stomachs.
Oh my God. What does it mean? Is a demon going to get a gun?
So I think we got to get a little further in the haunting before I talk about this. Also, at the first night they're sleeping there, and every night after this, at 3:15 a.m., which is the exact minute the murders happened. I don't think that's true, but I don't know how they pinpointed it to 3:15 a.m., but I think that's implied to be the exact moment. And like, obviously he couldn't probably have done it all in 1 minute, you know, like just the time it takes to walk from room to room. It probably,
No,
I mean, somebody died at 3:16.
You did not realize this, but he had speedster powers.
Or there were two people.
What if it was a gang of people? I mean, a gang of people is who went after Nicole Brown Simpson.
Okay, so Ronnie DeFeo, after he realized people were starting to buy this "I had help" theory, he gives another account of what actually happened at the crime.
Okay, but see, by saying that you had help, you are admitting that you were there and that you did commit crimes.
He's already in jail. He's not getting out. He knew that.
So why even bother?
Spread the blame around. Maybe write a couple more books.
Yeah, but you can't write more books. You can't profit off of that. You're not out of jail the way that OJ is, unless you're going to tell me that they're funneling money to this guy in jail.
I'm fairly certain they're funneling money to this guy.
Man, fuck this guy.
So not the Lutzes.
No, obviously not the Lutzes, but I'm talking about the author.
Yeah, believe me, the Lutzes don't share money. So there are, I'm going to tell you, just because you don't know, and I took the time to write this down. Here are a series. Here's other books in the Amityville saga.
Oh my God, there's more.
The Amityville Horror Part 2, 1982 by John G. Jones. Amityville, The Final Chapter, 1985 by John G. Jones. Amityville, The Evil Escapes, 1988 by John G. Jones. Amityville, The Horror Returns, 1989 by John G. Jones. Amityville, The Nightmare Continues, 1991, Robin Carl. Murder in Amityville, 1979 by Hans Holzer. Recommended to DeFeo by his lawyer. Hans Holzer did work with Ronnie DeFeo on all these books. The Amityville Curse, 1981 by Hans Holzer. The Secret of Amityville, 1985 by Hans Holzer. Do you want to know how many movies there are?
No, because this is all depressing.
The Amityville Horror, 1979. Amityville 2, The Possession, 1982. By the way, Amityville 2, The Possession, not a sequel to the Amityville Horror. They had to specify that for legal reasons. Amityville 3D, 1983. Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes.
3D, fuck.
1989. The Amityville Curse, 1990. Amityville, It's About Time, 1992. Amityville, A New Generation, 1993.
Is there an Amityville in space?
Amityville Dollhouse, 1996. Amityville Horror, 2005 remake with Ryan Reynolds. Amityville Haunting, 2011. Amityville Asylum, 2013. Amityville Death House, 2015. The Amityville Playhouse, 2015. Amityville No Escape, 2016. Amityville Vanishing Point, 2016. Amityville Legacy, 2016. The Amityville Terror, 2016. Amityville Prison, 2017. Amityville The Awakening, 2017. Amityville Evil Never Dies, 2017. Amityville Exorcism, 2017. Amityville The Amityville Murders, 2018. The Amityville Harvest, 2020. And Amityville Poltergeist, 2020. Witches of Amityville Academy, 2020. Amityville Island, 2020. Amityville Vampire, 2021. Amityville Karen, 2022. Amityville Thanksgiving, 2022. Amityville Christmas Vacation, 2022. These are actual
hold on,
films.
hold on, go back to that last one. What?
Amityville Christmas Vacation.
What the fuck? Is Chevy Chase in it?
He's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah.
The Amityville Slasher 2023. Amityville Apocalypse
are these
2023.
films that you would go to in a theater, or is this like a Sundance Film
No.
Festival?
Some of these were, but you can probably tell which ones weren't. Amityville Apocalypse 2023, Amityville Shark House 2023.
Oh, Missy Lutz died in 2018, apparently.
Oh, that's where she went. Amityville Bigfoot 2023 and Amityville Emmanuel 2023. So yeah, bad people get paid for this.
Okay, well.
So it's 3:15 a.m. The boathouse door is open and it's banging.
Did something happen in the boathouse during the murders? It sounds like no.
No.
Okay, explain that.
Ghost.
Yeah, no shit.
So George is renting a U-Haul. He's having a hard time getting it unpacked. He keeps it an extra day, winds up getting charged a bunch of money. He's losing money, and then again, wakes up at 3:15 a.m. Again, boathouse doors doing some stuff.
Okay.
The kids are okay. So the kids have a playroom, and at some point, the kids accidentally crack a pane of glass in the window.
Oh, that's bad luck. 7 years bad luck. I think that's mirrors, though, so never mind.
So,
but that's how the evil can get in or possibly out, Ben.
I'm not a parent, so I would have to ask you, if your child broke a pane of glass, this is expensive, how would you punish?
I would call my wife to do the punishing for me.
What do you think your wife would do?
I don't know exactly, but we're getting the fuck out of this room, first of all. You're done playing in here.
Would you grab a belt and a large, heavy wooden spoon and beat the crap out of them?
No.
Would your wife?
No.
Well,
is that what Nancy does?
I don't know who Nancy is.
Or
There's
George.
No one... George.
Who the fuck? What's his wife's name?
Kathy.
Kathy, Nancy, you're all the same to me, all right?
Yeah, so they feel pretty guilty about that, and that's not like them. They don't normally beat the crap out of their children. Remember that.
Okay. Did we ever ask the children when their parents weren't around?
Yeah.
And what did they say?
It's for after.
Yes.
So
why did they even bother putting that in the book? If they were like, now that's not normally like us. Don't corroborate this. Okay?
I do think in the 70s, maybe that was a little less shocking.
Yeah. But then why are you defending like we don't normally do it? Just like, well, everyone does it. Everyone beats the crap out of their kids.
So I get the vibe, to borrow the parlance of the time, that these guys consider themselves to be enlightened. They're the 70s. They're starting to...
Well, you don't go to church, so...
No, but they do practice transcendental meditation.
Go fuck yourselves. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know how much you know about transcendental meditation, but it's stupid.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds very douchey.
It's kind of what the Hare Krishnas were...
It sounds like what you say you do, like to be superior to other people. I don't meditate for my mental health. I meditate because it opens my mind, and that's how I came to the idea that I should be homeless for a week inside of a music library because I'm better than you.
Yeah, that's the thing. So a lot of meditation is usually about. There's a lot of different kinds of meditation, but a lot of meditation is usually about mindfulness,
and this is about clout.
This is about trying to induce a euphoric state or a oneness or some, if you're a Krishna, you invoke the name of Krishna to try to achieve a mental state. So it is This goes on for like weeks. A bunch of bad stuff happens. House is getting really cold. Except sometimes it's not cold, it just feels cold. So
Okay,
like
what month is this?
December. But the thermostat.
Could
mate.
it be ghosts, or could it be that it's cold in December and you didn't buy a heater?
No, you don't know how cold it is. Like, so
They got
it's not
7 air conditioners, Ben. They did not get any heaters, it sounds
and a cracked window pane, but it's not.
But it's probably ghosts. I swear.
No,
it's probably ghosts, Ben.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. So the thermostat, it gets up to like 83 degrees. But George just keeps shoveling firewood. He's literally burning through firewood as fast as he can shovel it into the fireplace. And the thermostat keeps going up and nobody else is cold, but George is freezing.
Okay, so he's got a disease.
He can't get warm.
He's got a disease. Did someone perhaps stab him with a Morgul blade?
Also, and this is common in a lot of possession, oppression scenarios with ghosts, George and Kathy are both just really lazy.
And they're not normally like that, we swear.
No, they're normally
We're usually
very
out
active.
there.
They're a 2-boat family.
Yeah, getting on 2 different boats, okay? That's not the mark of a lazy person.
No. So they're a 2-boat family, and they normally are like out and about going around town. But so this is really bad. Like George will not shower or shave. And Kathy is like, oh, I just have so much packing to do. She doesn't want to leave the house. She spends most of her time in the kitchen. Now, when you
say this is typical in possession oppression stories, is that typical prior to this one or after this one?
I don't know.
Does this start a trend by any chance? And that's why it's, quote, common.
So the Warrens are probably the single most responsible for modern ghost nonsense. And the Warrens are mentioned in this book.
What? Who are the Warrens?
Ed and Lorraine Warren. They are the highly fictionalized heroes of the Conjuring series, played by very much more attractive people. Ed and Lorraine Warren were ghost hunters. Ed Warren claims to be the only certified demonologist not ordained by the Catholic Church. He just made that up. And Lorraine is psychic.
Well, I have the demonologist degree as well. I'm printing out my certificate right now.
Ed and Lorraine... Oh,
psychic.
God.
All right. Have we tested the psychicness?
Look up a picture of Lorraine Warren and tell me if you really want to put this woman through that.
God.
Tell me if you think... Do you think we need to test whether or not Lorraine Warren is psychic?
No comment, Ben.
Okay, moving on. So they're so lazy, like neither of them wants to leave the house. Kathy spends all her time in the kitchen, where she is occasionally like grabbed by a presence that feels like warm. And
the Warrens are ultimately depicted as swindlers who preyed on vulnerable families in order to sell their own story for fame and fortune. I can't believe such a thing would exist, that man was the true villain all along. Anyway, go on, Ben.
Yeah. And so she feels this presence in the kitchen that it feels warm and inviting. So they haven't gone out shopping. They haven't gone grocery shopping. Okay, so it's warm and
inviting in the kitchen, but he's freezing.
Yeah, he's having a very different experience.
Okay. Why?
Oh boy, I got theories about that. So,
did they throw down their dots projector, Ben?
Okay, I'm gonna yada yada. We're just gonna hit the highlights because I got a lot of other stuff I want to talk about.
Because we'll fucking be here all night.
Yeah. So George gets very cold. He's he has a hard time leaving the house. He doesn't go to work ever. He just stops going to work, and work keeps calling, and they're like, George, you got to come to work. The
You
IRS
got a
is actually,
survey.
and I don't know why they put this in the book. The IRS is auditing us, George, and you need to talk to the accountant. And he's like, oh, just let the accountant handle the meeting.
And that's Ghost. That's not just a guy trying to avoid responsibility for his world that is slowly collapsing in around him.
Yeah, their brother-in-law comes to the house. He's getting married. He's got $1,500 cash in his pocket to pay the venue. A demon steals his money.
Yes, a demon did it. Perfect. If
George-
you ever need a scapegoat, you just say a demon did it and you're in the clear.
George, well, I don't know if George stole the money, because George then has to pay the venue illegally, and this is probably why the IRS wants to investigate him. He covers he doesn't have enough money to pay the venue, so he writes some bad checks. But this is 1974, so he knows he has time to shuffle money around before the banks open. And he shuffles money from his business account to his personal account to cover.
Oh, that'll get the IRS on you real quick.
Yeah, so he's doing great. And
well, okay, maybe what we need to do is buy a second house, okay, with a second boathouse and a detached garage specifically for motorcycles. Okay, hear me out. We put the motorcycle there so we don't have to park it in our garage. Then we can use our garage to do the modern day equivalent of Etsy and sell a bunch of crocheted shit to our neighbors. Okay,
boy, that sounds like a lot of moving outside of my house that I just don't want to do right now because a ghost is making me so lethargic. They don't even get Christmas presents for their children.
Wow. Okay, so this sounds an awful lot like the debt is collapsing around them and he's severely depressed.
The demon made me too lazy to go get Christmas presents for my children.
He's so depressed and broke, he can't get up to do what he needs to do. He's not showering, he's not doing his hygiene, he's not going to work, he's not paying for things because he's broke and depressed.
So Father Mancuso, you remember him, right? He blessed the house.
Okay, what's his real name?
His real name
is it better than Mancuso? Because it's
Pecoraro.
God damn it! All right, Pecoraro sounds a little cooler, I guess.
Okay, so Father Mancuso, he gets really sick. The house can make you really sick.
Okay, was he in the house when he got sick?
No.
Okay.
He wasn't even in the same town. He was 15 miles away.
The Amityville World Tour.
It makes him really sick. Well, one of these movies, the evil escapes. But in one of these movies, there's no escape. So... I don't know.
I hate this, Ben. I hate everything about this.
Father Mancuso gets sick. They're going to try to call Father Mancuso a couple of times.
But he's sick.
Well, so he doesn't answer because he's sick for a while. But then they're like, we need your help, man. And he's like, they need my help. And then he's like, but I don't want to have any more to do with it because every time I get involved, it makes me sick. So bye.
What?
But then he's not a very good priest. But to be fair, though, they're not very good Catholics. So there's a lot of mediocrity going on here. And Father Mancuso...
The house made them mediocre, Ben. You don't understand. Before they even moved in, years ago, it made them garbage people, okay?
Okay. Speed run. Father Mancuso, they call him to help. He's like, oh... Okay, I'll come. I'll say a mass for you. I'll literally phone it in. You know, like I'll work from home. I'll bless from home. So he says a mass to help the family from the church, and the ghost doesn't like that.
So the ghost goes into the church and he gets him.
I'm not the world's most Christian man, but I know a thing or two about the faith. I've read the Bible. I've been to church for
I
many,
know
many
of
years.
the Bible. Noah.
I can tell you
Jericho.
that one of the things, if someone were to write a book about me, and I'm a priest, one of the things a priest is not supposed to do is encounter the devil and run away, leaving behind 3 children to face damnation
So this is
in a house where 6 people died.
Well, look, man. Police officers, they don't have a duty to act, okay?
Oh, there's
Maybe
a cop too. I
priests
forgot about
are
the cop.
same way, okay?
There's a cop who checks on the family every now and then, and he literally sees a bunch of crazy shit through the windows, and he's like, I've done all I can.
He doesn't have a duty to act, Ben.
No, I think he sees them like running around trying to fix. At one point, the ghost shatters every window in the upstairs.
Oh, did
And-
we beat the shit out of the kids extra hard for that one?
No, they're pretty sure the kids couldn't have done it all at once, all in the same place. The toilets turn black. That's another thing.
But
Um,
hold on. Did you still consider like maybe we need to beat them just to be sure?
Nate, I haven't even gotten to the giant pig.
What?
The daughter,
What?
the daughter Missy, she has an imaginary friend, as every creepy kid does. Anything that ever happened in a horror movie up until 1974 is in this book. So the daughter has an imaginary friend. The imaginary friend is named Jody, and Jody's a giant pig.
Okay.
They don't know that right away.
Okay.
But also, there's a ghost boy. So there's a
Okay.
giant pig and a ghost boy.
Why not?
The ghost boy is like playing with. I think Jody's supposed to be a demon or the devil or the ghost of a pig.
Hear me
out.
Hear me
Why-
out. Missy was the ghost all along.
Because we're speed running every horror movie that preceded this, in the basement they find a secret room,
No, you
a
didn't.
red room.
No, you didn't.
It's all painted red. And he
Oh,
mentions
okay.
that-
This is from the the thing we watched on Netflix.
Oh, the Hill House.
Hill House.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does bear a striking resemblance to that story that predates this. So in the red room, it smells like blood because it's red. And he asks a
Okay.
bartender about it, and the bartender's like, I bartended for a catered party at that
Okay.
house. And you know what? I heard that in the red room they used to do satanic sacrifices, where they sacrificed chickens and pigs.
Okay, but there's not a giant chicken.
No.
And also, what does this have to do with the Defoes?
Well, at least one of them is being haunted by a giant pig.
Okay,
Well-
and the giant pig caused him to murder his whole family, and then
I don't know.
okay.
Well, it could have been. There's a couple of things going on. So there's the
but
giant.
these guys didn't murder their whole family.
No,
So
they
the
wrote a book.
The
and
demon
then
was
went
a
on
failure.
world tour.
They actually cashed in on this.
No, according to them, they didn't make any money, except in a
Really?
court document where they said they had to testify under oath that they did make some money.
How much money?
$200,000.
Which again, in 1970,
$200,000 2 years after the book.
Wow.
George Lutz testifies under oath that he made $100,000 on the book and $100,000 on the movie rights. Okay.
So he bought like 2 houses
And
and an extra boat.
they do wind up moving to San Diego,
Uh-huh.
and neither of them are working for like a year, but they are somehow still living.
Huh.
But they didn't make any money. And
Who would have thought? It's crazy.
okay, so there's the giant pig, that's Jody. There's the ghost boy, a couple of people see him. There's also another really spooky Hellraiser kind of thing that's like a demon with a white face that the two boys
How many
see.
demons and ghosts are in this?
I met 3 so far. There's also the kitchen presence, which grabs her sometimes. There's also
So
sex ghost.
this is just like that book from that lesser known author that just was just like sprinting through like, and then there was a car crash, person in the road, house is haunted. Also, the love interest was like a succubus or something and a ghost. Like, it's just like every new chapter we gotta throw something else on the pile. Are there
What if I told
gargoyles in
you?
here?
What if I told you it was somehow still boring?
Oh my god.
Because every once in a while it
How?
stops.
How?
Because
How can you make this boring?
every
You're
other
just throwing
chapter is the
everything.
priest being sick.
Why? I don't give
know.
a shit about this priest. Did he make any money?
Do you want to know why every other chapter is about a priest being sick?
Wait, why did they have to testify under oath?
We'll talk about that. So,
oh, God. Fuck. Oh.
So there's a chapter about a
Ben,
priest
the
being
real
sick.
horror is the human element here, where we're just cashing in on a family of 6 people being brutally murdered.
I 100% agree with you, and we will talk about it. So, the reason there's a priest is because The Exorcist came out earlier, and everybody loved that. And for like 10 years after that, everything had to have an exorcism. They don't have an exorcism.
Oh, I was about to ask. Okay.
No, because Father Mancuso is like the world's worst priest.
He did leave children to be devoured by a demon.
Spoiler, I don't think he ever really does anything. And like they go back and forth.
Like in reality or in the book?
Oh God, for sure in reality and also in the book.
Ben, I'm telling you that this sounds like a book that I would not have finished. I think I would have gotten partway through and been like, this sucks.
Nate, it's only 230 pages.
I could pretend that I'm paying attention to an audiobook of that.
Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay. So things are winding up to the final night. At this point, we've had every window broken, the door, 200-pound door, which I don't believe it was 200 pounds, shot off the
what?
Yeah,
a 200-pound. What was it? A vault door? What the fuck are you talking about? Where did you even get the material for a 200-pound door?
It's a giant solid oak door.
No, that's not 200 pounds. No fucking way.
They say it weighed 200 pounds, and it was broken out from the inside.
Okay.
Perhaps. It was done by a giant pig.
Okay, did anyone go to the residence right after this with a camera?
No.
Did they take a picture?
Nope.
Okay. Fuck you.
They also say the banister got ripped out. There's a lot of damage to the house that couldn't possibly have happened.
Yeah.
They also
Unless
say
they're
there's
collecting
a mysterious
insurance money.
There's a mysterious,
and also the ghost lit a fire. Oh, thank God I got that policy, right?
There's a mysterious ectoplasm that drips down the walls.
From a pig's anus.
They don't collect any of that. The final night they're in the house.
No, of course not. They don't have any evidence because that would disprove their story.
Oh, Kathy levitates from time to time.
Prove it. Do it again.
She's not doing it. She's being lifted by the spirits.
Do it again.
Can't.
So why aren't they all dead? I mean, the house can seemingly reach far beyond its own walls. So running away from the house after 28 days, it's still going to get you. It can just kill your car and then, I guess, blow it up or throw it in the river.
I forgot the house might also be able to make it rain. I also forgot that
this house sounds like it could actually solve a lot of problems. We're in a drought currently. Can the house give us some rain, please?
You need to get in the path of one of these hurricanes because we're doing just fine. The too much rain, perhaps. Oh God, what the fuck was I even going to say? The house
Yeah,
can
Tornado
make it.
Valley is actually moving to the east and south of us. It's actually pretty nice.
So the house made it rain. Kathy levitated,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, Father Mancuso is just sick constantly. Um,
And now we go to another chapter from Father Mancuso.
a lot of things smell like human excrement.
Okay.
And then I think
Why
the
not?
final. Oh, the
What'd they do with the
evil.
blood room? Oh, we have a secret basement room now, I guess, that smells like blood.
It doesn't always smell like blood. Sometimes it's fine.
Oh,
Um,
okay. But they never, called the police to, hey, this fucking room's covered in blood.
no,
I
Kathy has
think you have a
sex with a
duty to report that
ghost.
if you find something on your property like that.
And then the final night they wake up. George wakes up to the sound of the kids' beds bouncing up and down, like the whole bed. It's just bouncing up and down. And the kids run.
Like it's jumping?
Yeah, like the whole bed's being lifted up and dropped. And
Okay, and it didn't break through the floor.
I need you to stop interrupting because this is going to be
okay.
So the kids come running down the stairs, and then following them comes this giant.
The bed?
No, the Hellraiser demon, and it like points a finger, and it's like and then they leave. The car finally starts. They don't care.
Okay. And they don't follow them out of the house.
Well,
some say it followed them for the rest of their days.
Let's read you the last paragraph.
God, I hate this, Ben.
Oh my God. The actual text of the book is 220 pages. Spraying wet gravel, George backed out of the driveway. When he hit the street, he skidded, spun the wheel, and stepped on the gas at the same time. The van teetered for a moment, then all four tires grabbed and smoke shot up from the rubber treads. In another instant, the van was tearing up Ocean Avenue. As he steered the van towards safety, George looked into the side view mirror. His house was fast disappearing from sight. "Thank God," he muttered to himself. "I'll never see you again, you son of a bitch." It was 7 o'clock in the morning. Lutz's Ocean Avenue. Sorry, they didn't actually escape that time. Okay, here's the real last paragraph. So they're staying at Kathy's mom's house now. And this time he wakes up. And his wife's screaming at him. She's like, "George, you were floating in the air."
Oh
Kathy
my
grabbed his
God, the
arm and
house
pulled him
has
off the
found
bed.
us.
"Come on," she shouted. "We've got to get out of this room." And as though he was sleepwalking, George followed his wife. At the head of the staircase, they both stopped and recoiled in horror. Coming up the steps towards them was a snake-like line of greenish-black slime. George knew he had
So
not
they
been
were the
dreaming.
ones who were haunted, not the house. The house
It was
is cool.
real. Whatever he had thought they left forever back at 112 Ocean Avenue was following them wherever the Lutzes fled.
Okay, but it took them a real long time to die.
Yeah, it sure did. Not Kathy. Kathy doesn't make it much past this. She does make it long enough to divorce George.
Oh, why?
We'll talk about it. Okay.
All right, let's talk about it,
let's talk about it.
Because the things I care about the most are all the real things that actually happened, and not the bullshit that they're trying to say is real. But conveniently, there aren't any evidence to.
Okay, Ronnie DeFeo had a public defender right out of Trump's legal team. This guy was
real?
named. No, but this guy. I'm saying this guy is of the caliber of Trump's legal team. His name is William Weber. And he claims, and he sued the Lutzes. He claims that he came up with the idea for the book, that he hashed out all the plot points of the book over a couple of bottles of wine one night.
Okay.
And that he sent the Lutzes a book contract which proposed they create a company, not unlike OJ.
Boy, oh boy.
Weber Mars. Okay, so the Hoffman Weber Burton Mars Corporation, like Weber Mars and Burton, Weber Mars and Burton, and Kathy and George Lutz were each to receive 12% shares. And I guess Patrick Hoffman would be the writer. He received the largest share. Patrick Hoffman would later the Lutzes claim this didn't happen. I think.
Yeah, it didn't happen. We had a verbal agreement.
So what does happen, we know, is that around this time that Weber alleges he sent them a book contract, a friend of the Lutzes walked into a random publishing company he knew about and said, "How does one go about writing a book?" And then they decided to, instead of taking a 12% share of the book, take a 50% share of the book and split it with Jay Anson.
Okay.
So
That sounds like the kind of thing you wouldn't want to do to a lawyer, though.
Well, after that, Paul Hoffman, who apparently, this never happened, so Paul Hoffman didn't have the story, but somehow Paul Hoffman still published a couple of articles, one of which was titled Life in a Haunted House. The second was titled Our Dream House Was Haunted. They appeared in New York Sunday News and Good Housekeeping, respectively. Both articles were nearly identical and were based on the experiences of the Lutzes, or the experience that the Lutzes, Weber, and Hoffman had brainstormed, whichever you want to believe.
This would explain why there are about 400 different ghost-related things in here, and nothing's consistent.
In May 1977, George and Kathy filed suit against Paul Hoffman. In the suit, the Lutzes allege invasion of privacy, misappropriation of name for trade purposes, and negligent infliction of mental distress. They sought relief in the form of $4.5 million, or approximately half the value of Goosebumps. In turn, Hoffman, Weber, and Burton each placed a counterclaim against the Lutzes for $2 million, citing that the Lutzes had perpetuated a fraud and breached a contract. The judge dismissed the claims against the magazines. He claimed that there was no invasion of privacy and that the plaintiffs had refused to state a claim upon which relief could be granted to them. The judge eventually handed the case over to a second judge. An actual trial began, and the rest of the Lutz's lawsuit was dismissed, but the counterclaim was allowed to continue. And the judge said, and I love this, based on what I have heard, it appears to me that a large extent of the book is a work of fiction, relying in large part upon suggestions of Mr. Weber. Now, keep in mind, Weber is, I think, still representing DeFeo.
But he's got to make a little bit of money on the side, Lawyering, it doesn't pay what it used to, you know what I mean?
So the lawsuit goes on. In September 1979, Weber gives an interview to People magazine in which he tells them, "I know this book is a hoax. We created this horror story over many bottles of wine."
But also, maybe ghosts killed that family, so maybe we let my client go.
So there was another interesting thing as the lawsuit proceeded. The second judge, Judge Weinstein, did point out as the counterclaims continued that there were perhaps ethical questions regarding Weber and Burton's conduct, and that maybe the New York State Bar Association would like to hear about this matter of proposing a book that kind of sets up your client for an appeal to a bunch of random people, knowing it's bullshit and then telling a bunch of people you knew it was bullshit. Maybe the New York Bar Association would find it troubling that a lawyer was doing that. The next day, the matter was settled. The entire case was dismissed. But we did get some great deposition. So, Father Mancuso, aka Father Pecoraro, did have to testify, or at least give a statement at this case. He gave an affidavit and later testified that his only communication with the Lutzes had been a phone call about their psychic experiences. He testified that he suffered none of the supernatural illnesses that occurred to his character in the book, and he wasn't really sure that anything supernatural ever happened. George Lutz, for his part, testified that he met Pecoraro on July 14th, 1974. Kathy Lutz testified that her first conversation with Pecoraro was a phone call on July 30th, 1975. The Lutzes were married, if you were wondering, on July 4th, 1975.
I wasn't wondering, but now I know.
But that does kind of throw a monkey wrench into the idea that he was a close family friend who counseled them prior to their marriage and knew them 2 years before the events of the story.
Well, maybe he knew them in, the Catholic sense.
I don't even think Kathy had spoken to him before they left the house.
Wow.
And for the part of the Catholic Church, I'll just read you this. The Rockville Diocese, where Pecoraro was assigned, has stated, the diocese maintains that the story was a false report. In November of 1977, diocesan attorneys prepared a substantial list to be submitted to the publisher of the Amityville Horror of numerous inaccuracies, factually incorrect references, and untrue statements regarding the events, persons, and occurrences that never happened. When he wasn't under oath, Father Pecoraro did do a few interviews where he said that it did happen. And he got real sick after blessing that house that he was never actually in when it came time to talk to a judge.
Huh. Well, I mean, maybe the ghost made it so he couldn't go to the house, Ben.
Even
about that?
Even then, and even with a literal book written of what was supposed to have happened, he really struggled to keep his story straight. There's a rumor, and this is a rumor, so allegedly he was transferred to another diocese and was forbidden from practicing several Catholic rites. Okay, let's talk about the children.
Oh, God, if we have to.
Missy never talked about this as far as I can tell, but Danny Lutz, the oldest, made a documentary a little while back. I think it was called My Amityville Horror. I did rewatch it for this, and it is uncomfortable.
Okay.
Danny Lutz, he basically says that he hated George Lutz, is so happy he's dead, and tried his best to kill George Lutz on several occasions.
Jesus.
Said that Lutz was physically and verbally abusive. Lutz insisted...
But that was so unlike him, according to his book.
Lutz insisted that Kathy's children's last names had to be changed to his own. Their father was still alive, and they saw him regularly. Danny Lutz eventually left home, dropped out of school. And this is weird. There in the documentary, there's a scene between him and Lorraine Warren. She was still alive. And Lorraine's asking him, she's like, you dropped out of school. What happened? Where'd you go? And he does. He really
psychic. Why don't you fucking tell me?
He thought, he goes, he really doesn't want to answer this question. He does not want to tell you what he was doing. And he says, the desert. The desert? He went to the desert.
Burning Man.
And she says, like, just the desert? He's like, yeah, just the desert.
Like
it's very uncomfortable.
Like the desert, like Breaking Bad.
I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but he doesn't want you to know what the fuck he was doing. So
Okay, that's fair.
this dude,
And hey, I'm on your side. I also think George Light sucks.
now Danny has all the hallmarks of someone who has been abused and has not really dealt with it properly. He's quick to anger. He's very protective, very defensive. Like it's an uncomfortable watch. He insists. Another thing George Lutz says over and over again in the book is that I don't know anything about the occult. I couldn't have made this up. Danny says he totally knew about the occult. He was into all the hippy dippy shit of the time, like Satanic Bible, the Transcendental Meditation. He had a bunch of occult books.
Okay, what do people who believe this is all possession, like what do they think of Danny's take on the events?
So Danny does argue that supernatural things happen. This is where it gets a little weird.
Okay. Yeah, you lost me.
Yep. Danny, in disputing that George did know about the occult, now keep in mind, Danny was fucking 10 years old. I'm not necessarily calling Danny a liar, but an abused child being raised by parents who are wholeheartedly on TV telling a ghost story about your childhood, and then movies get made where it's designed to look like you in your house.
They're telling you
And
how your life was.
yeah, it's like I don't necessarily think this guy has to be lying, but I don't think he ever had a chance at remembering this clearly. So he testifies, or he doesn't testify, I'm sorry. He says that George Lutz was not an occult novice and in fact was something of a warlock.
Okay.
He says he saw George Lutz levitate objects with his mind.
Okay. All right.
Now, again, going back to the abused child thing, I don't know. There's also Christopher Lutz, even younger at the time, 7 years old. He really popped up around the time of the 2005 remake. I
thought you were gonna say the election, and I was like, this is
No.
getting real weird. But okay.
No, he basically kind of backs up Danny's story. So I think both Danny and Christopher would say that they did see that tall figure, the tall demon that was making their beds levitate. But beyond saying he saw that, he says a ton of the book was exaggerated. He also left home at an early age, and he also says that George Lutz was a piece of shit and a liar.
Wait, did they end up living with George after their mom died?
No.
Okay.
But Kathy did stay married to George for a few years. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we already covered the murders pretty good. So, yeah, what did they have to gain?
Money. Fame.
They said they had nothing to gain. A lot of people.
Fame.
Ed Warren said they lost a bunch of money. Ed Warren's full of shit. The George Lutz admitted in a lawsuit in 1979. I think this is the Weber lawsuit, that he netted $100,000 from the book, $100,000 from the film. The Lutzes also contracted with John Jones. You might remember him from
the UFC fighter.
No, John G. Jones,
Manhunter.
author of Amityville 2, The Possession, and blah blah blah. Yeah, they contracted with him to publish a book about the experiences after they moved out of the house. I haven't read that. I'm probably not going to read that.
Oh no, the house has followed them.
The Lutzes also granted these people the option to produce a motion picture about those events. In return, the Lutzes received the right to share in the money generated by the book and the movie. Some of those rights got reassigned. The Amityville 2, The Possession, actually gets pretty sticky here, because when they made the movie, The Lutzes, I think, sued because the people who made the movie didn't want to pay them, and so
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
the people who made the movie scrubbed all references to the Lutzes, like their name, the Lutz, changed everybody's names, and put on the movie poster Amityville 2: The Possession, quote, not a sequel to the Amityville Horror. And the Lutzes lost in court because it turns out they can't own the rights to the trademark Amityville as it relates
It's a town.
to, yeah.
That's right. Suck it.
Yeah, and that is how you get Amityville Bigfoot. Anyone can slap
What?
Amityville. Amityville Bigfoot is a 2003 film.
Why? 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 Just fucking why?
Okay, so I'll tell you the only reason I decided to read this book. I like the movie. I like the 1979 movie, or the 1970.
Yeah, it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah, I like the 1979 movie. I will tell you, they tone it down a lot for the movie. A lot of the crap with the priest is gone. I don't even remember that. But looking back on it, it is kind of like I could see the DNA from all the other horror movies in it. So I think we've talked about the content pretty well. I have a question for you, Nate. Because I think I'm going to rubric this. Because
okay.
Now, I normally wouldn't rubric a non-fiction book. But I got into the comments on some things I shouldn't have gotten into the comments on. And I was given an argument that I heard more than once. That it shouldn't matter if the story's true. We should judge it based on how entertaining it was.
Okay.
Because this is a book. We're here to review spooky books. So do you think I should just throw out whether or not it's true and rate it on the merits of its writing?
Well, seeing as this is a fiction book, I think that the rubric is a perfect fit, Ben.
Yeah. So let's do that. Content and ideas. Now, I'm leaning towards a 1, Nate, because as a story, it's kind of unfocused and rambling, and no central themes or plot points are developed.
But because it talked a lot about a priest, you want to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Well, is it an exorcist? Like, is it a what is the house? What's causing it to happen? Is it a demon? Is it
It's
ghosts?
a hellraiser. It's
multiple
a haunting.
ghosts? Is it a
It's
pig?
multiple ghosts. It's a pig. It's a priest.
And who are these ghosts? Because now, if this were written today, I don't think they. I think they 100% would have done this. Thank Christ they didn't.
It would have
claim
been the family.
Yeah, thank Christ they didn't claim it was the family. But if it's not the family, who the fuck is it? Nobody else died in that house.
No, Ben, there was a blood room. Tons of people died in that house. In a sacrificial chamber hidden in the basement.
You know how they get around this? I forgot to mention this because this is the thing I was struggling to come up with.
Anyone ever write a story about John Wayne Gacy's house?
It's not an ancient Indian burial ground. Because that's
okay.
Because that's really easy to disprove. And they did in fact ask Native American tribes if any of them claimed that land for anything sacred, and they were like, no. But in the book, he claims that somebody saw in a vision or something that this land where the house is was used as kind of like I don't think it was leprosy, but like a leper colony. Like they would put people with like dying of diseases.
Pretty sure we could prove that too.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter if it's true. So I would wonder why that detail was thrown in.
Because we gotta explain it somehow.
Well, but that's
Why?
the thing, they
Why
don't
is
really
a
explain
Hellraiser demon and a pig and another demon? Why are they all hanging out together?
So
It's a sitcom in the afterlife, Ben. That's why. I solved the mystery. You're welcome.
and one of the episodes is I stole that dude's wallet.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Watch
let's move
this. It'll be
on.
really funny.
Let's move on to organizational structure. I'm gonna get eviscerated. This whole episode, I don't even want to upload it to YouTube because there's gonna be a million fucking.
We're not popular enough. Don't worry.
No, they show up, bro. Because you know who else is talking about Amityville? A bunch of random ghost hunter losers who got like 100 views for every video, which is still way more than us, but that's because they're talking about ghosts. There's definitely going to be people who show up here and they're definitely going to be angry at me. And you know what? Your hate sustains me. Organization. So again, assuming this isn't a true story, well, then it doesn't really make sense. Why is Father Pecoraro even there? He doesn't do anything. He's not an exorcist. You waste half of the story on an extraneous character. Shouldn't even be there. It's almost like you're some kind of guy who's never written a book before, trying desperately to pad a broken window and a door that banged in the night into a novel length retelling, complete with pictures and maps of the house.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, full page pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's a 1. It doesn't really organize that well.
Oh my god.
Use of language. Yeah, that's a 2 because the whole thing, like it feels like it's written by the world's most boring man who's just kind of blandly stating what he heard.
Are you so he didn't ever have another good book again?
No, he had 666 by the author of the Amityville Horror,
and that was
and
the
then
end of his
he
career.
died.
Okay.
Maybe it was the
house got him. Yeah.
The house got his career. Okay, so personal preference. I mean, that's going to be a 5. No, that is a 1. I did not care for it, Nate. Now, I guess, it's tough here, but because it's personal preference, I feel like I got to bring this in. I've talked a lot on the podcast. I feel like almost every October about where the line is with horror. And I think it's at real recent deaths. I think it's at exploiting real recent deaths. But again, that's just assuming that the book is fiction. Because again, if the book wasn't fiction, a lot of these things would be explained by the fact that they don't have to be explained because we don't know what demons are thinking or ghosts or thought form entities or pig tulpas. But
please stop expanding my vocabulary. Thank you.
And recommendation strength. I don't recommend this. Watch the movie. The movie's better.
So you're giving it 10 points is what you're telling me.
I am giving it 10 points.
Better or worse than If I Did It?
Better because they didn't kill anyone. I mean, the bar is on the floor there. The Lutzes, I don't know about George. They didn't kill anyone.
That we know of.
I don't think they killed anyone in the making of this book. So they're marginally better than OJ.
They're marginally better than OJ. That's a low bar, man.
So the Amityville, the reason I cover this and the reason I'm so disappointed in this book is because really, and we'll talk about this with our next episode. I've for some things I've been writing, it's just some stuff I'm interested in. I've been really digging into like where do a lot of modern beliefs about ghosts and spirits and the supernatural, where do they come from? Like why do we think ghosts are going to be cold? Why do we think they'll show up on cameras but not in front of our eyes? Things like that. And this the Warrens have successfully parlayed this into one of the biggest fucking deals in the supernatural world there could ever be. This is like, I would say, the haunted house story. If you get anybody who's enthusiastic about horror or ghost hunting or any of that, they're going to know what the Amityville house is. And it seems like a lot of the unexplained stuff is actually explainable. Like, why didn't they wake up when they heard gunshots? Well, maybe they did. And maybe there were two gunmen. And maybe one of the gunmen told him to get the fuck back down. Ronnie DeFeo, before he died, he alleged Don killed the children and that he killed the parents, and that two of his friends were there. One of them helped him shoot his parents, and one of them was supposed to be a lookout. The lookout ran away when he heard the gunshots, and Ronnie went to chase him down. And while Ronnie was gone, Don killed the kids. I don't know if I believe him. I think he's deeply invested in not having anything to do with the murder of the kids, because yeah, it's one thing to hate your dad, it's another thing to murder a kid. And you know what? In jail, that doesn't buy you any points. They're not kind to child murderers. So yeah, there's all that. The fact that this there are people who think the Weber lawsuit is just a greedy attorney trying to get a piece. I don't know about that. There are people who want to believe the Lutzes and say that Weber didn't actually have anything to do with this book, but I don't know about that, because how does Paul Hoffman wind up knowing what he knows to write all those articles without the Lutz's permission? How did Weber happen to know for a fact that when they started testifying, like when they got the priest on the stand, that his whole half of the story was going to fall apart? It's troubling. And I just wish I could impress upon you how like big a deal this story is to all the ghost hunting crap. Like, I'm piece by piece ruining ghosts for myself. I didn't know how bad it was. Like, this so easily falls apart under just an adult's level of scrutiny. Like, if you don't just believe literally everything you hear, this is stupid. On its face, it's stupid. They signed the house back over to the bank. They just gave up. And the bank sold it.
Okay.
And George's company also collapsed. And in the book, for some reason,
did the ghost get his company?
well,
it hunted down his company and destroyed it?
I don't know what happened to his company, but if the book is to be taken as an authoritative source of what happened, the book explains that the reason the IRS is auditing him is because he has claimed a bunch of bullshit deductions for the last few years. And he's going to owe a significant amount of back tax money, perhaps enough to fold the whole fucking company. And he blames the housing market for that.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, the man owns a motorcycle, a van, 2 boats, A house he probably could have sold. And that part is mysterious. I guess people could get on me for that. Is like, why wouldn't he have stayed in the house? Why? How after 28 days did he realize it was all going to be so bad? And I have a couple of theories, and I'll give them to you in order here. First theory: he doesn't make good decisions.
What?
He's just not that bright. He's just a man of less than average intelligence who has an anger problem and wildly flops from one extreme to another. That's a possibility. Another possibility. When he bought his $80,000 house that he couldn't afford, he did not realize that the tax man would come calling within a couple of weeks.
Just gotta shift around that money. Just gotta keep
And-
shifting it around. Keep shifting it around, man. You gotta keep shifting it around.
Yeah.
Find it.
The way
Catch
he is described as managing his money within the book that people claim to love makes me think that for maybe a variety of financial reasons, he needed to just get the fuck out of town. And he did. And then when he got the fuck out of town, he found himself in a shitty situation. And maybe he just made the best of it. But again, I'm going to tell you, if I had a failing survey business, I would own fewer boats.
Oh.
Or work. Yeah, that could be a possibility. Or
Yeah,
I'd have
maybe
actually
you could try getting a job.
moved the family or moved the office into the thing I said I was going to move the office into. And that I never made any attempt at even starting to set up as an office because of the ghosts. They made me lazy and cold.
They made you leave. That's an
made me
accurate
leave.
depiction.
But I kind of wonder, what does the house want? In the movies, they sometimes portray it as, a smarter story. Unfortunately, it involves the DeFeos a little. Maybe the house wants people to kill their families. Maybe it wants people to be murdered there. That charges its ghost batteries somehow.
That checks out.
That's not what happened to George in this book. At no point is he ever thinking about murdering his family because he also is kind of interested in portraying himself as a hero.
We don't know that there wasn't, let's say, I don't know, like a fourth or fifth kid, okay?
I don't know, man. I guess it was time I read this book. I'd say the movie's probably more popular than the book. I think that's for a reason. I didn't find the book scary. I found it frustrating. Every time I would read a chapter, something would jump out at me as not making sense, not adding up. And I would Google and I would find court transcripts that confirmed that everyone was lying.
Okay.
And it's Happy Halloween.
Yeah. The real villain was man all along. So.
That man, particularly.
That man in particular. He sounds like a piece of shit. So, all right. Well. Bye.
Oh no, Nate. It followed me after the credits.
Maybe you should try getting a job.